Good morning. Welcome to BODHI Yoga Online. I'm Krista Cahill, and we are going to do a 90 minutes vinyasa flow this morning. Chris is going to help me to demonstrate the postures. So we're going to start on our backs. Go ahead and lie down. When you're ready, hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little bit of a side-to-side, gentle movement and massage. Okay, now you're gonna open your arms like an airplane and turn your palms to face onto the mat or onto the floor beside your mat. And take a very big inhale here with your knees pulling towards your chest. And then as you exhale, you're gonna let your knees come towards your right elbow, and you're gonna take a couple breaths there and pause. Feel free to keep your gaze up, or you can turn and look opposite of your knees towards your left hand. And just push the left hand down as much as you can. Feel the shoulder blades come onto your upper back. With your next inhale, lift your legs up. And now hover your knees on the left side. Bring your knees as close to your left elbow as you can. Yeah, that's it. Try to keep your knees together if it's possible. You can look up or change your gaze, looking towards your right hand, pressing your right hand down, bringing the shoulders onto your upper back. And now we're gonna go with your breath to the center with your gaze and knees as you inhale. Knees hover to the right and you're gazing over towards the left as you exhale. Inhale, come to the center, Jaritari Parvattanasana. Exhale, knees go left, gaze right. Inhale, here in the center. Exhale, knees right, gaze over left side. Inhale, center. Exhale, knees left, gaze over to the right. So you can keep the knees bent, inhale, center, or straighten your legs, flex your feet, reach towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, lower your toes towards your right hand, look towards the left. Inhale, up, center. Exhale, bring your toes to the left hand, lower your gaze over to the right shoulder. Inhale, lift, center. One more time, right side, feet, left side gaze. Inhale, center. Exhale, feet to the left, gaze right. Inhale, center. And now drop your knees to your chest. Grab your shins with your hands, rock forward and back like a rocking horse, come all the way up and onto your hands and knees. So we're gonna take tabletop position from here. Organize your hands. So if you have a carrying angle or if you have stiff shoulders here, you can open your hands a little wider and turn your hands pointing slightly out on a diagonal. And then if you're choosing to point your toes, see if you can press the tibia, that's the lower leg bone, down by the ankle towards the yoga mat. And now pressing your hands and feet into the earth, you're gonna round your back starting at the lumbar spine where it meets the sacrum. Maybe you look towards your navel at the end of the exhalation. When you're ready to take your inhale, keep pressing the floor and lift the vertebra between your ears, slowly moving down the progression of the spine. And the last thing to lift at the top of your inhale is the sitting bones towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, first you round the lumbar right above the sacrum, all the way, pressing the tibia, the hands, and then eventually the gaze towards navel position. As you inhale, keep pressing the hands, the tibia down as you arch. All the way, the last thing is the sitting bones lift up. And you're gonna take a few more rounds on your own. So feel free to move at your own pace, which might be slower than the pace of someone else. You're trying just to follow your breath, making it as slow as possible so that the movement has time to unfurl the tension of the spine. And the next time you come to the round shape, you're gonna hold in the round shape. And see if you can, instead of rounding more in the upper back, Our upper backs round very easily and without much consideration. So see if you can minimize the rounding of the upper thoracic part of your spine and instead maximize the rounding of the part of the spine, so not here, but here, way down above your tailbone, just where the tailbone is meeting the sacrum. Last 3 breaths in this round shape. The frontal hip bones are feeling like they could fly up away from the top of your quadriceps. 2 more breaths. Okay, now keep this shape, curl your toes into the tucked position and use your hands and the strength of your shoulders to press your hips back, lift your knees up, and go back into downward dog when you're ready. Feel free to bend the knees as much as you need to. And let's take a few rounds of just lifting your heels up as high as you can. So notice that when your heels lift up, you might even be able to get the sitting bones to push up away from the back of the knees a little bit. Now, could you imagine keeping your sitting bones way, way up and just the heels coming down to the ground without the sitting bones following them? The sitting bones resist up as the heels stretch back and down. So we're going to do a couple like this. As you inhale, you're lifting your heels way up into a high releve. Now lift your sitting bones up and let the heels draw back and as far down onto the ground as possible. Good. And one more time, lifting your heels way up, getting as high as you can onto your toes, lifting your sitting bones way up, keeping that height and letting the heels stretch all the way down. Now keep one heel stretched down and just bend the opposite knee and take a couple breaths. So the sitting bone of that straight leg is still climbing away from the heel descending down. And then you're going to change, straightening the bent knee and bending the straight leg. Feeling the sitting bone of the straight leg go up as the heel releases down. Now you're going to do that one more time, lifting your heels way up, lifting your sitting bones way up, and now you're going to bend your knees and bring your chest, your ribs all the way back towards your thigh bone. So bend your knees as much as you can with your heels off the mat. There you go. Now push your hips further back and try to straighten your knees, keeping your heels lifted. Keep your sitting bones lifted and lower just your heels down. One more time like that. Lift your heels way up, high releve. Now, bend your knees and push your hips as far back as you can. Try not to lower your heels. Keep your heels up as you bend your knees as deep as possible. Keep your heels that lifted. Push your hips back as you straighten the legs slowly. And let the heels release away from the sitting bones. Good. Come into plank from here. You're going to keep your knees straight or bend your knees and lower all the way to chaturanga. Come down onto your belly, and we're going to stretch in bhujangasana. So point your toes away from you, press into your 2 hands, and as you inhale, lift the vertebra between your ears first. Work into the upper back spine. See if you can feel the spine moving forward as well as you're starting to bring that serpent shape up into the upper back. Last 2. Think of rolling more weight onto the pubic bone if you can. Last breath in. And keeping all that length as you exhale, come down onto your forehead. Curl your toes under. And again, you can feel free to bend your knees or to have your legs straight. Try to press up from here to chaturanga, plank, and downward facing dog. And then you're going to walk your feet forward to the top of the mat and separate your feet a little bit wider out than your hips. Okay, take an inhale. You can bring your hands onto the tibia or high on your fingertips. And as you exhale, fold. Hold your opposite elbows and take a couple breaths. So what we're looking for is to have the lower part of your abdomen completely touching the top part of your thigh. Then, if it's possible, you're going to bring your elbows a little bit away from your shins towards your ears. And when the elbows start to come towards the front of the body, you're going to start to stretch the sides of your waist out. So see if you can bring your elbows just a little more. Yeah, there. That's it. Good. And then maybe the elbows can go even a little bit further. Last 3. Try to elongate through the upper back spine. 2. And now you're going to keep your elbows wherever they are. So if they're in line with your ears, keep them in line with your ears. If you can get them higher than your ears, keep them higher than your ears. Press into your feet and come all the way vertical. Reach your elbows to the ceiling as much as you can. And now reach your arms up, straighten your elbows, look up, take a big inhale, go higher. Open your arms, swan dive forward, exhaling all the breath out. Bend your knees as necessary, and now hold your opposite elbow, so the weird elbow on top. Work down into your feet with your awareness, pressing down with the four corners of the feet, pressing down evenly on the big toe edge, the baby toe, the inner heel, outer heel. And sometimes it feels really good to keep the knees bent and just to think of taking the hips slightly forward, bringing them over the front edge of your heel, over the front of your ankle. Okay, and then challenging that even more by bringing the elbows away from your shins. Maybe you can bring the elbows so far back that the arms are behind your ears. See how much length you can get in the sides of the waist. And then you're going to use the upper back spine, the muscles of your spine, to come all the way up, vertical position. Feel your feet pressing down as your elbows lift up. And now reach your arms up, up, up. See how much stretch you can get. And Tadasana, exhale, release your arms down. And you're going to bring your feet either together or hip distance apart. So you choose how you want to configure your Tadasana. Okay, now spread your toes on the mat. So even if you were to have to bend over and manually with your fingers spread your toes, do that. Okay, if you can do it without your hands, try to articulate the baby toes opening away from the big toes. And then again, just pressing into the four corners of the feet like we did in the Uttanasana variation. Bringing the center of your pelvis over the center of your ankle. There you go. And then you can relax your arms down and you're going to bring your shoulders into external rotation. So turning the hands open towards the sides. And use the feeling, the weight of the arms, shoulders going down against the lift of the spine up. Last 2 breaths here. Now, keeping the external rotation, open your eyes as you inhale, reach your arms sideways and up as big as you can. Open your arms even wider as you exhale, fold all the breath out into Uttanasana. Feel free to bend the knees if that's necessary. Inhale, lift your body halfway up. And now plant your hands flat as you exhale, march back for the first one into plank position. Okay, you can either go straight to down dog or lower chaturanga. I'll leave that up to you. Cobra or upward dog as you inhale, and we meet in down dog when you're ready on the exhalation. So you're pressing your hands down, and the idea is that when you press your hands down, you generate a lift of the underside of your arms. So the forearms draw up, away from the yoga mat, and that's countering the amount that your hips are being drawn back. So as much as your hips are going away from your shoulders, you're not buckling or lowering the forearms to the ground at all. Last 3. That's better. Yeah, like that. There you go. 2. Now keep that and push the hips back more. There you go. Look where you want to land. At the end of the exhalation, when all the breath is out, bend your knees and then inhale, jump or step. Exhale all the way down. Open your arms, rise as you inhale. Exhale, arms release, Samastitihi. Inhale, rotate the arms, reach up. Exhale all the breath out as you come down into Uttanasana. Inhale, look forward. Place your hands flat as you exhale, march or jump back. You're either going to down dog or chaturanga. Cobra or up dog, inhale, all the fingers press down. Downward facing dog, lift the forearms, wrists as you push the hips back. Okay, so you find the 2 directions of movement, right? Not everything is just going back. There is a few elements of resistance forward, like the spine, crown of the head, forearms, fingers. Then in opposition to that, you're using your shoulders and your hips to go back. Your heels are going back. Last 2, that's it. See how much you can keep the forearms lifted as you bend the knees, jump or step as you inhale. Exhale the crown of the head down. Open the arms. Inhale, external rotation of the shoulders. Exhale, arms release, Samastitihi. One more time. Inhale, Urdhva Hasta. Exhale all the breath out, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha. March or jump as you exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Cobra or Urdhva Mukha. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Using your breath to create length in 2 directions. So as the sitting bones, sacrum, hips go back, the sides of the spine engage and move the crown of the head towards the fingers. Last 3, 2. Finish the exhale, bend your knees. When you're inhaling, march or transition jump. Exhale, Uttanasana. Open the arms, use the postural muscles, come all the way up from your feet. Exhale, arms release down, Samastitihi. And you're gonna bring your arms into that external rotation again. Okay, now, you're going to move your hips back with your legs straight as far as you can. Now try to keep your torso upright. There you go. So you're gonna feel this majority engaging the lumbar, the QL. Now, keep that feeling of going back and start to bend your knees. See if you can bring your thighs down to parallel position to the floor. Now, see if you can turn your sitting bones forward towards the back of your heels. And now you're going to reach your arms back and you're going to bring your chest forward parallel to your legs. And as much as you can, and it might feel like you have the tendency of falling back, push your hips back and lower down until you get to that parallel position. Once it parallel, then you're engaging the upper hamstrings and turning the sitting bones towards your heels. Either your arms are going to stay back or you're going to reach your arms forward alongside your ears, staying parallel to the ground here for 5. There you go. 4, 3, feel the shin bones and the sitting bones coming towards each other. 2, and hands to the ground. Press your feet to lift your legs. So you're taking the energy of the force downwards and you're trying to lift it up to get your hips to move a little bit more towards the front of your ankles. So it's gonna feel or have the tendency of going forward, like you're falling over the handlebars. Now, see if you can bring your hands flat. So now your 2 hands have taken over the job of your 2 feet. Keep the hips going this far forward and now lift the vertebra between your ears. Inhale, Ardha. And you're gonna lift your left leg up as high as you can behind you. And now keep your leg that high and move your hip on the right side into chair pose. But keep the left leg lifting up, up, up as much as it can. Good, now you're gonna step with your left toes back and you're gonna come up with your upper body into crescent pose. Okay, now interlace everything except for your index finger and your thumb, okay? Open the outer corners of your shoulder blades around towards the front of the chest and use the upper back muscles. Push your arms higher, maybe your gaze, ears coming back in line with the shoulders. Last 3. Go up, up, up as high as you can. 2. And 1. Now you're going to release your hands down and maybe you're going to use blocks under your hands, okay? And you're going to keep your back heel as it is, so it's going to stay parallel. It won't go to a diagonal. And you're going to slowly straighten your front leg, pressing into your right big toe and inner heel, okay? Feel how the hips, tops of the thighs, are pulling back. The spine, crown of the head is going forward. Use as much of the backward feeling in your upper legs to go a little further forward in your spine. And then you can start to bring your lowest abdomen down onto the top part of that right leg. Last 3 breaths here. 2 breaths. And 1. Inhale, lift your ears up. You're going to set the blocks off to the side, bend your front leg, bring your hands completely flat onto the mat. And now you're going to go into 3-legged dog. The right leg is going to reach up and back. You can open up your hip, stack. If you want to bend the knee and stretch out the quad or circle the ankle, do any or all of those. Now extend your right leg behind you and bring your toes parallel to the floor. Good. Just to the floor. There you go. Take a big inhale. Look forward, and now think of rounding the lowest part of your back and bringing your right knee all the way up underneath your chest. Feel the shoulder blades resist back away from your ears. 3-legged dog again, like this. Inhale. Now bring the right knee onto the outer right tricep, keeping the shoulder blades resisting down away from your ears. Inhale all the way to 3-legged dog again. Twisting the right knee to the left shoulder this time. Again, keep that right shoulder from going up towards your right ear as much as you can. Inhale all the way up and back. And now you're going to exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Good, come onto your fingertips. Walk the fingertips forward a little bit if you need to. And maintain, if it's possible, and I know that this is challenging, do your best, the right hip parallel, and now lift your left leg as high as you can up off the ground, keeping the leg straight. Straighten your elbows, extend your spine forward, and now bring your left foot to join your right foot at the top of the mat. On the exhalation, you're going to completely bow, crown of the head down. Bend your knees, reach your arms up, 1 breath in Utkatasana chair pose, and then standing into Tadasana. Exhale, Samastitihi. You can release your arms down into external rotation. Okay, now do your best to keep your torso upright. And I know, again, this is challenging, so you have to do your best at negotiating. Keep your spine upright and see if you can move the tops of the thighs back as far as possible. So this is going to engage your lumbar spine, the QLs. There you go. Now, bend your knees if you can until your thigh bones are parallel to the earth. Once your legs get parallel, then you can turn your sitting bones forward towards your heels. So you're going to feel that little flying upwards. Bring your torso down, hovering over your thighs, and reach your arms back or reach your arms forward. Maintaining parallel with your legs means you're able to feel the shin bones resist back, but the sitting bones come forward underneath you. Last 3. Elongate the spine without losing the contraction of your front ribs, hip bones. 2. And keep all that length in the spine. Fold. Feel the feet press down. And instead of the knees go back, the hips come forward and up. Last 2 breaths here. Your hands are all of a sudden becoming almost more important than your feet. Look forward as you inhale. And now you're going to lift your right leg up and back. See how much you can get the right leg to go up, and now bend your left knee back into that chair pose shape. Lift the right leg up as the left hip descends down eventually to a parallel position. And then when you're ready, you're going to step all the way back and you're coming up into crescent pose. So find your balance and bring your arms overhead when you're ready. If you can remember the interlace, cross the unusual pinky on top, everything except for the interlaced finger, index, and thumb. Externally rotate the arms, so that means the outer upper part of your arms, when they're engaged, they slightly turn towards the tip of your nose. In the upper back spine, you're going to lift and push the energy up towards the ceiling. Last 2. Feel how much you can go up, up, up. Last inhale. And then as you exhale, release, come all the way down. So we are going to work into the hamstring, which means you may or may not need blocks on either side of your left foot. Okay, keeping your back foot parallel, start to lift your left hip up and back until the leg is straight. So just starting to learn that the straight legs don't come from the knees. The knees are actually never going backwards. The knees are actually always energetically lifting on all 4 sides towards your hips. It gives a feeling in this posture that the tops of your thighs are being pulled back and the spine is going forward. So that doesn't mean that the front ribs go forward into your t-shirt. It's an action of the spine that doesn't disturb that area of your front ribs, hip bones together. Okay, see if you can keep all that, and then bring your lower abdomen as close to the top of the left thigh as you can without rounding. Last 3, very good. Top of the left leg, top of the right leg being drawn away from the press of the feet. 2. And 1. You're going to bend your front knee totally, remove the blocks off to the side, bring your hands now flat. 3-legged dog, and you can go ahead and go into the stretch. So if you want to open up your hip, bend the knee, move the ankle around a little bit. Okay, now extend your leg back so you're bringing your toes just to the parallel to the floor position. Okay, take a big inhale. And now look up and round at your lowest part of your back to bring the knee all the way up to touch your left chest. Inhale, 3-legged dog, stretch. Exhale the knee to the left outer tricep where it meets the shoulder. Inhale, stretch. Twist, exhale, knee across towards the right outer tricep where it meets the shoulder. Inhale, last time, stretch, 3-legged dog. And exhale, lift your left foot up in between your hands. Come onto your fingertips this time, walk the hands forward a little bit if you need to. You're going to think of taking the top of the right leg up like warrior 3 and keeping your left hip as down in 90 degrees as possible. So think of lifting the right leg as you drop the left hip a little lower, and now bend the knee and place the foot between your hands. Fold, exhale all the breath out. Okay, chair pose, 1 breath, bend your knees, reach all the way up. And now stand up as you exhale, lower your arms down, Samastitihi Tadasana. And take a couple moments, just breathe. Feel the inside of your legs growing taller. Good. Now you're going to take your arms parallel like an airplane out to the sides. Keep that external rotation you have at your shoulders. And now you're going to bring your arms into eagle with the right arm on top of the left arm. If you can't wrap 2 times, just press the back of your wrist together. Otherwise, if you can, bring your hands together. And then you're going to push your shoulder blades forward into your elbows so the elbows move away from your chest and up as high as they can towards the ceiling. Against that feeling of going forward and up, you're going to move your thighs back and down into chair pose. And now you're going to pick up your left foot and cross your left knee over your right. So eagle, Garudasana. See if you can feel the sacrum, which is the very top part of your pelvis where it meets the lumbar, drawing and dropping away from your lumbar, and then the spinal muscles pushing the elbows up higher. Last 3. Last 2. And 1. Release your feet, release your arms all the way up. Take a stretch as you inhale. Open your arms, fold to the earth as you exhale. All the breath out, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift halfway. Fold again. Exhale, crown of the head to big toes. Open your arms, external rotation, come all the way up. Tadasana, exhale, release your arms down. Okay, so you're keeping the shoulders in external rotation and bringing your arms up. Eagle, left arm above right arm, crossing. Use the shoulder blades protracting to push the elbows away from your chest and up as high as you can towards the ceiling. Now, opposite of the elbows going forward and up, move the tops of your thighs back and down into chair pose. And then when you feel ready, you're going to pick up the right foot, cross the knee above, and you're coming into full eagle Garudasana. The sacrum, if you had your back at a wall, the sacrum would be sliding down the wall. The spine would be climbing vertically up the wall, helping to produce that forward and up movement with your elbows. Last 3. Think of your left sitting bone being connected to your left heel. 2. And now push into your left foot, straighten the legs, release your feet down, arms up. Take a big stretch here, go for the fullness and length. Open the arms as wide as you can and fold all the way into Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha, elongate. Fold again as you exhale. Open the arms into external rotation. Reach all the way up with your spine. Tadasana, exhale, Samastitihi. Chair pose, one breath. Inhale, hips back and down, arms and spine up. Exhale, Uttanasana, fold all the breath completely out. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, Chaturanga or down dog, direct your choice. Inhale, Urdhva or Cobra. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Without lifting the leg, you're gonna step your right foot forward. Okay, now turn the back foot at approximately a 45 degrees angle. Okay, see if you can connect the back outer heel into the ground as much as the left big toe into the ground. Maintain all of that work and then see if you can draw your right sitting bone towards your right heel, just like you did in chair pose. Now, keeping your front leg this bent, arms to the side, external rotation, and come all the way up into Virabhadrasana. Take a big inhale, see if you can lift your spine a little bit taller. Stay in this warrior one and release your arms behind your back, interlace your fingers. Take an inhale, straighten your elbows, lift open your spine. Reach forward away from your left heel as you exhale, go as far as you can, and then fold at the very end. And we're gonna be here for 3 breaths. So if you can, lift the shoulders and take the arms overhead for 2. Countering the heel on the left foot going back, the sitting bone of the right leg going forward, and release your hands down onto the ground. Now you're gonna turn onto your back toes and step into plank position here. So open your feet a little wider than hip distance. Okay, now you're gonna take your heels over to the right side of the mat. And if you can, you're gonna try to get the inner edge of your right foot to the mat. Push into your right hand, lift your left arm up. The sacrum releases away from the lumbar, the frontal hip bones come up to your bottom ribs, and that doesn't change as you start to engage the spine, bringing the ears back. Turn and look up if you have the balance. Rotate your left arm externally and stretch now overhead. So the whole right side of your body is lifting up into the left side waist. Last 2. And release your left hand down. You're coming into plank position. With your elbows straight, you're gonna go to down dog without letting the forearms release towards the ground. Good. Moving your hips back, come again into plank position. As you exhale, Chaturanga or to the ground, your choice. Cobra or upward dog, inhale, and exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, when you're ready, you're gonna bring your left foot forward. Your back foot is gonna come to approximately a 45 degrees angle. You're maintaining the back outer heel coming down to the ground as much as the big toe. So measure that in units of energy. Now, without the back leg being disturbed, try to draw the left sitting bone underneath you towards the left heel. This is the same action as chair pose. Keep your knee very bent, open your arms to the side, externally rotate the shoulders and lift to Virabhadrasana. Go up, up, up if you can, your hands touch you, look up at the fullest part of the inhale, exhale the arms behind your back. Now if you can remember the cross of the fingers, switch it up. Again, draw, engage the shoulders, look up, and then as you exhale, think I'm gonna go forward away from the right heel. The more you go forward, the more length, and then at the very last bit, release your head all the way down. We're gonna be here for 3 breaths. Lift your shoulders onto your upper back and see if you can raise the arms up and overhead. Last 2. Juxtaposition the back knee being straight with the left sitting bone coming under. Last inhale. Exhale your 2 hands down underneath your shoulders. Come into plank position. So we're gonna take the variation on Vashisthasana. Open your feet a little wider. Turn your heels over to the left side. Now I know this is challenging to get the left inner foot down, but do your best to work that outer ankle, outer shin, so the tibialis anterior presses your inner foot down, and then you come all the way up when you're ready. Okay, so the more you can draw the sacrum out of your lumbar, your frontal hip bones are going to fly up. Keep that connection and then move the spine back in line with your hips. Turn, externally rotate the arm, look up and reach your arm overhead. Feel how you're getting the same feeling of the bottom left waist coming up, filling in the right top waist towards the ceiling. Last 3. There you go. 2, and release. Come into plank position. You're going to take it here. 1 inhale. Downward dog with your inner elbows as straight as possible on the exhalation. Okay, inhale, back into plank pose. The shoulder blades away from your ears as you lower all the way, or chaturanga, your choice. Up dog or cobra as you inhale. Downward facing dog as you exhale. Okay, take a few moments and breathe. Now you're going to lift your right leg up and back behind you. You're going to look up and you're going to place your right foot on the outside of your right hand. So to the pinky side edge of your hand. Okay, and then press your hands into the ground. So what you're trying to do here is you're creating plank position, but there's a variation in the right hip, which is flexion. So how much can you resist the left thigh from dropping down to the ground? As much as you can get the left leg to press up, now you're bringing again, just like you did in chair pose, that right sitting bone forward, as if you could make a line of energy from your sitting bone to your right heel. Good, see if you can breathe here. Last 3. The way that your hands push into the earth, it helps your chest, your rib cage to lift up and absorb into that underside of your body. 2. Okay, now you're going to bring your left foot outside your left hand. You can turn your toes out a little bit if you need to, and you're going to squat down into Malasana. Okay, bring your hands to your heart in prayer. You can bring your shoulders, elbows inside your knees. So here, we're doing as much as we can what we call the scoop. The scoop is in your pelvis. So as you inhale, there's this tendency for your sitting bones and your sacrum to expand out. As you exhale, you're trying to draw the sitting bones underneath you, like you're scooping against the sticky mat, your hips forward towards your heels. Now, can you use this very deep flexion, this rounding in your lower back, to then resist and bring your ears back, eventually so your head is over your hips? Last 3, very good. 2, and bring your hands down to the ground. Press your feet into the earth, lift your legs up rather than pushing your knees back, and you can just bring your feet back to parallel if you had them turned out. Bring your left hand to your outer right ankle. Bend your left knee just a little bit, and now take your right arm up. You can reach up towards the ceiling, or you can internally rotate the right arm and grab your inner left leg. So the idea is that you can keep that left shoulder blade down away from your ear, and you can turn from underneath the shoulder blade and see if you can lean your head back without losing that connection of your front floaty ribs to the front bottom hip bones. Then you lift your hip bones into your front floaty ribs, and you use that wave of energy to take your head back over your left thigh. Last 2, if you can. A little bit more, turning on that left shoulder blade. Now keep your right arm behind your back if you can, and just look down, stretch the side of your neck. Release your right arm up, and you're going to take it to the opposite side. So you're bringing now your right hand outside your left ankle. Bend your right knee, and take your left arm up. If you want internal rotation, do that. Take your arm back to the top part of your right leg. Okay, so now, the hardest part in these twists is that the bottom shoulder, which is the right one on this side, likes to go by your ear. Try to train your body to move that shoulder blade away from your right ear, and then the twisting actually happens from under the shoulder blade. Is that too much? No, okay. So as you work into this twist, yeah, it's happening from under the scapula where it comes around to the serratus muscles. Last 3. Ears back as the hip bones fly up to create that little wave movement through the spine. 2. And release all the way down. Hold your ankles with your hands and just let your head come down in the center. So after the twist, we release the spine and we use gravity to traction. Last 3 breaths here. Now you're going to inhale, lengthen your body halfway up. Exhale, hands to your side hips. And inhale, come all the way up, standing. Step or jump your feet together, samastitihi. Externally rotate your shoulders fully. Inhale, lift your arms all the way up. Keeping the length, open your arms. Exhale all the breath out as you bring your hands to the earth. Keep moving the hips forward. Inhale, if you can, hands are flat. Either down dog or chaturanga direct on the exhalation. So if you're over the vinyasa, skip it. If you miss it, do it. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Okay. Now, you're going to look up. You're going to lift your left leg and step your left foot to the outside part of your left hand. Okay. And then you're just staying here in this variation. So we haven't really changed from plank except for the left hip is doing flexion. So as much as your left sitting bone comes forward towards your left heel, can you mitigate any of the dropping that might want to happen in the upper part of your right leg? So you're working in duality on the right side versus the left side strength. Okay, now you're not losing the frontal hip bone, so there's that feeling of flying up into your bottom ribs. Now can you eliminate all the rounding in your upper back? So the ears, yeah, as your hands push down, the chest, the ears, everything starts to come up. Last 3, shoulder blades away from your ears. 2, and now lift your right foot, step it to the outside of your right hand, and you're going to come back into that malasana. So, you know, over time, you work at doing this without turning your feet out as much. So once you can get your feet parallel, it's going to just work a little differently in your hips. Okay, bring your hands to heart center if you can. Another great modification is putting a block under your hips if you need it at home, okay? But here, what we're trying to create is a feeling of the sitting bones scooping underneath you, and then you're working on that with the resistance of the spine bringing the ears back so that the head is eventually over your hips. Last 2 breaths here. And then release your hands down. Try to do your best not to straighten from your knees, but to do it by pressing your feet and lifting your legs up out of the roots of your feet. Good. Okay. So now, bring your feet parallel to the best of your ability if you turned your toes out. Now, you're going to bring your right arm back through the space between your legs, and you're going to bring your right hand onto your outer ankle calf, and you can bend your right knee a little bit. And then do the same thing with your left hand. Move your left arm back through your legs and hold onto your ankle. So you're trying now to wiggle your shoulders onto the inside part of your legs. As high as you can get onto your shoulders, you're bringing your knees up, 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 like you're gonna wear your legs as a backpack, okay? Then, when you're ready, you can use, now there's an option that you can use your hands on blocks with your fingers coming over the edge, okay? You could also use a wedge under the heel of your hand if they don't come down. And now you're going to try to draw the sides of your legs in, so you're squeezing in with your body. And now you're going to try to heel toe your feet together, and maybe you can cross your right ankle over your left ankle. This is called Bhuja Pedasana. Bhuja is the shoulder. Pinda means to squeeze, so it's shoulder squeezing posture. Can you scoop the sitting bones towards your heels, but at the same time keep your ears floating up as high as your shoulders? Last 3. Yes. Last 2. And then separate your feet to the floor. Slowly lift your hips, let your head go down. You can bring your feet back to parallel. If you were using blocks, just set them off to the side. Take a couple breaths. And then you're going to bring your body halfway up. This is Ardha Uttanasana. Think of lengthening out the roundness in your spine. Hands shift to your hips as you exhale. And then you're going to come all the way up as you inhale into the vertical shape. And exhale, march or jump your feet together, samastitihi. externally rotate your shoulders. Inhale, reach all the way up. Exhale, all the breath out, Uttanasana. Head towards the big toes as far as you can. Inhale, now crown of the head straight forward. Bring the weight into your hands and you either step or jump to transition. So maybe you go to down dog direct if the vinyasa is too much. Okay, so now you're going to lift your left leg. So we're going to start on the left side, okay? Now look up, keep that rounded feeling in your lower back, and you're going to bring your heel of the left foot towards your left sitting bone. There you go. So it's almost like if you had me at your house and you were holding a block between your glute and your heel. And now you're going to keep that and you're going to try to bring your knee across to your right tricep as if you could hold the block the whole time and bring the knee across. So it's really the sitting bone bringing the knee across. Now try not to let the left shoulder go forward, and if you can get your knee onto your outer elbow, some of you might be able to bend the elbows in a variation of chaturanga with the knee on the outside of the arm. If you feel confident, maybe the back toes can come up. You could even straighten the left leg out to the side if you wanted to. And then back to three-legged dog. Extend your left leg all the way up. You can open the hip now, bend the knee, stretch it out. Okay, now you're going to lift your right heel up as high as you can into that releve shape. Turn your heel towards the right edge of the mat. Slowly, with control, push into your right hand, lift your left fingertips, and bring your left toes behind you into Wild Thing. Press your hips up, but keep the frontal hip bones connected to your bottom floaty ribs. It's spinal extension. It's not lifting the ribs up out of your tummy. Keep the ribs discreet. Engage the upper back. See if you can reach a little bit further. And then three-legged dog again, lifting the left leg up and back behind you. Take a big breath in, and now step your left foot forward between your hands. Okay, you're going to lower your back knee down, so maybe you need a little cushion, and point your back toes. Okay, and then when you're ready, you're going to inhale and reach your arms up over your head. Okay, now you're going to interlace your hands, making two fists above your head. Okay, and you're going to try to rotate the outer arms towards the tip of the nose, and you're going to bend the elbows and bring those knuckles down towards the base of your neck. Okay, so now it's like you're holding a belt. Imagine that connected to your back foot. You're going to inhale as you draw the sitting bone of your left hip forward towards your left heel. You're going to lift your frontal hip bones, and you're going to start to continue moving your ears back against your arms. And eventually it's a back bend or an extension in your upper back spine that is met by the solidity of your front ribs and hip bones coming together. Last three. It's just creating a little tiny back bend in your upper back. 2. And now straighten your elbows, reach your fingertips up to the ceiling as you inhale. Exhale, both hands down. Okay, so now we're going to come into pigeon pose. So you're going to heel toe your left foot over towards the right edge of the mat, and the knee is going to come to the outside of the left edge of the mat. Okay, and for almost everyone, you need a little something under both the hip and the top part of the right leg. So maybe you have like a thicker cushion. We're using 2 of the smaller cushions. Okay, and then you can just fold over that front left leg, letting your body release a bit into this shape. Observe how you're breathing. Create a nice lateral movement as you inhale into the side ribs. And now when you're ready, you're going to walk your hands in. Place your hands flat on the ground in front of your left shin. Curl your right toes completely underneath you. Lift your right thigh up as much as you can and then step into downward facing dog. So stay in down dog or come into a plank position. And you're going to rinse it with a vinyasa as you exhale chaturanga or to the floor. Cobra or upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Okay, The right leg is gonna lift up. We already did the left. Okay, and now you're gonna keep that, round your lower back as much as you can, and now bring your right heel towards your sitting bone. So it's like you could feel you're holding a block there. Now imagine you could keep that close proximity and bring your knee across, so you're twisting towards the left outer shoulder. Now don't let the right shoulder go up by your ear. Keep the right shoulder pushing back, so the twist is coming from underneath your shoulder blade, and then you're gonna bend the elbows if that's available. Maybe some of you are gonna straighten that front leg, lift the back leg. Step your left toes down, three-legged dog if you can directly, bringing the right leg up, stacking the hip, bending the knee. And then you're gonna lift your left heel as high as you can and turn your heel over to the left side of the mat. With control, slowly bring your right toes down behind you. Your heel is gonna stay up off the ground. Push into your feet, lift your frontal hip bones, soften your front ribs, and see if you can make the majority of the movement happen in your spine rather than the front ribs. Go for a little more stretch in that right arm, maximum elongation. And now hold your tummy in to come back into three-legged dog. Stretch it all the way back with an inhale. Low lunge, stepping the right foot up as you exhale. Okay, so maybe you need something underneath your back knee. Point your toes and take your arms up over your head. Okay, so you're gonna make two fists, just interlacing all your fingers. Externally rotate the outer shoulders, lift up as much as you can, and when you can't go any higher, bend your elbows. Place the hands at the base of your neck. So it's like you're holding a strap in your hands. That strap would be, it's imaginary, connected to your left foot. So against the right sitting bone going forward, see, so this is the scoop. Can you bring the ears, the head back against your arms? Eventually your ears go all the way back with your shoulders, and it's like you could grab your left foot with your hands. Last three. There you go. Two. It's like the limbo, go up and over. And then straighten your arms, reach all your fingers, take a big breath in. Exhale, bring your hands down, and we're gonna come now into pigeon pose. So you might need to grab some cushions. We're gonna use two under the front leg, hip, and the top of your left quad. If you have a bigger cushion, you can just use one cushion under both. Come forward, breathe, fold. When we breathe, it's moving the sideways, outer bottommost ribs as far to the right and left as you can. One more breath. And then you're going to walk your hands in, placing your hands flat on the ground. Curl under your left toes. Try to firm your left leg straight like a plank position and step into downward facing dog. So some of you are going to just stay here and breathe in down dog. If you want a vinyasa, go ahead. If you're missing it, shift forward on an inhale. With precision, lower as you exhale. Cobra or upward dog inhale and downward facing dog. Okay, you're gonna either walk or jump your feet to your hands for Ardha Uttanasana, and an inhale is that pose, and an exhale is Uttanasana. Separate your feet a little bit wider than the hips, and now insert your hands underneath your toes for Padahastasana. Releasing the wrists. Inhale, elongate your spine forward, and then as you exhale, release the crown of the head down. So use the way that your fingers press into your wrist to release the wrist, or your toes to press into your wrists. The toes are giving you that little massage, that little release. Last two. And one. Look up as you inhale, slide your hands out, and now you're going to heel toe your feet all the way together. Okay, and you're gonna lift your heels up into a releve position and bend your knees and come into a squat with your heels in the tiptoe shape. Now, you're gonna turn your knees towards the right, so your body is still gonna be able to continue to face towards the front of the mat in a twist. Set up your hands like you would for plank position. So however wide you have your hands when you're doing plank, whatever direction your fingers point in plank, you're gonna just duplicate this. Okay, shoulder blades, and particularly I'm talking about the left shoulder blade, has to come down. And the twist is happening from underneath that shoulder blade, where those serratus muscles unite with your left ribs. Bring your left knee up as high as you can onto your outer right shoulder. Okay, then you're gonna start to lift your hips a little bit. Take the weight slightly forward, but remember that left shoulder has to be resisting back. Okay, and then maybe you can lift your outside foot, that would be the right foot, up to the height of your hip. The outside foot. Yeah, there you go. Then the inside foot second, the left foot comes up to join the right foot. This is Parshva, or side revolved Bakasana. Now, some of you can bend the elbows and extend your legs out into Dvipada Kundanyasana, extending your heels to the front right corner of your mat. Last 3. That left shoulder has to stay away from the ear. 2, bring your heels back to your tush, bring your feet to the ground, and then you're gonna just fold over, turning your knees to the front of the mat, and take a couple breaths in Uttanasana. Just to separate the two sides with a little bit of a cleansing fold. Okay, and then when you're ready, you're gonna look up, okay? Have your feet as close together as you can. Releve your heels up into the tiptoe position, bend your knees, and then you're gonna turn your lower body, your knees to the left, to the outside of your left arm. So you're still gonna face the front of your mat with your upper body. So even if you just do this and it's enough for you, try to keep the right shoulder blade from coming up around your ear and move the twist from underneath that left shoulder blade. Okay, then you can set up your hands. Bring your right knee as high towards where the arm meets the outer left shoulder blade as you can. Okay, so the idea is, and you can lift your hips a little bit, not too much. You're not going all the way for straight legs, but you can elevate your hips a little bit, and you're gonna think the outside leg, which on this side is the left leg, you're gonna lift the foot up as high as you can, keeping your knees together first. Then you're gonna lift the inside right foot up if you can. If you feel solid here and you wanna try Dvipada Kundanyasana, bend your elbows and extend your legs out towards the upper left corner of your mat. Think of that right shoulder blade really coming down in the twist from underneath those bottom right ribs. Last 2. Bend the knees, bring the heels back to your tush, bring your feet down, and Uttanasana, turn your knees to the front of the mat, straighten your legs, and fold. Breathe, good job, release your head straight down. Very, very good. And then when you're ready, inhale, elongate, length. Exhale, fold all the breath out. Open your arms into external rotation. You're gonna inhale, come all the way up, as big as you can, reach for the ceiling. And as you exhale, lower your arms down, samastitihi. Okay, now we're gonna try to go from chair number 1 into chair number 2. So chair number 2 is more like a squat with your heels on the ground. Now, if you're at home and you know you can't keep your heels on the ground, you might wanna put a little cushion or roll up the front of the mat under your heels. Okay, or maybe you need even 2 cushions or, a bigger roll in your mat. There you go. Okay, now you're gonna reach your arms all the way up overhead. You're gonna move your top thighs back and down as far as you can. Once you start to get the parallel position, turn your sitting bones to your heels, and now try to lower your hips all the way down towards your heels. Good, and now stand all the way up. Press your feet into the earth, maybe a little teeny tiny back extension, and exhale, lower your arms down. We're gonna try one more time. So reach your arms up, move your thighs back and down. Turn your sitting bones towards your heels once your thighs get to parallel, and see if you can bring your hips all the way down. And now you're gonna stay here and wrap your arms around your shin bones and fold your body into this little teeny tiny ball. So from here, we're gonna try to come into just a straight vanilla Bakasana. Okay, so separate your knees apart as wide as you can. Now you can use a block underneath your feet if your hips are really tight. That will help you to get your shoulders and your knees closer together. Okay, so in the beginning, you're just putting your hands down on the ground, and that might be enough. So as you advance yourself, you're gonna try to put your elbows on the ground. And then as you advance even more and you get more flexibility, you're gonna try to bring your elbows in line with your toes. So that makes it a little bit more challenging. But what you're gonna feel in general is that the arms are coming back and they're pressing against the front of your lower shin bones. See how much of that meeting of the shins and triceps you can maintain. And now start to apply the scoop position of pulling the pelvis forward underneath you. Press into your hands and start to bring yourself forward onto your hands. When you're ready, maybe you are able to feel one or both feet lifting up into crow pose, Bakasana. Good. Take another big breath in. If you know how to exit into Chaturanga, do that. Otherwise, step down and step back into Chaturanga or Down Dog Direct. And then when you get to Down Dog, we're going to do Child's Pose for a couple breaths. So lower your knees, relax your shoulders, and make sure that you can regulate your breath, bringing it away from that more hyperventilated state into a calmer state of slow diaphragmatic breathing. And now we're going to take it into the complete opposite of Bakasana, which is bridge pose. So when you're ready, place your hands either side of your knees, lift your hips, and slide your feet through into a seated position. Now, if you have a block at home, you're going to do, with the block on the tallest level, a supported bridge pose. If you don't have a block, you're going to do just a dynamic bridge pose without the block. So if you're using the block at home, make sure it's in the center. It's not too far off to the right or left side of your sacrum. And let your whole body release. This is going to give your body the time to recover from all the exertion of the arm balances, the adrenaline. Okay, and then if you want another little variation, you can take a hold of your elbows and bring your arms over your head, just to give your spine a little extra stretch. We did a lot of flexion or rounding in the spine in those poses today. Twisting and flexion. So we did compressive twists. Okay, if you did the elbows, you're going to straighten your arms and then clasp your other elbow on top. Pull your arms back again and give your spine a nice little stretch to release. And you can release your arms, lift your hips up, and we'll take the block out for a regular bridge pose or Urdhva Dhanurasana. So for those of you guys at home, you decide, are you going to be satisfied with bridge pose, or when you're ready, stretch your arms overhead, externally rotate, place your hands alongside your shoulders. Then you can keep your hands like this and just add bridge pose, or you can come up to the crown of the head like tripod. And you can always stay on the crown of the head if that's enough. So really what we're working on is getting the lift first in the hips. And then if you want, you can bring your head off the ground by pressing your feet into the ground as much as possible. Okay, try to do your best to maintain breathing for 3. Hip bones, ribs coming together, 2. And now look all the way towards your chest and slowly, good, take a couple breaths. release, breathe. So that might have been enough for you. You might be completely exhausted now, and if so, you can open your feet, let your knees knock in, or you can do one more Urdhva Dhanurasana or bridge pose. So you choose, elongate the arms first, bend the elbows, keep your elbows parallel so they're not splaying out to the sides. Lift your hips as high as you can, so this is hip extension at its finest. Coming to the crown of the head is also a really good place to rest and be, if that's enough for you. Press through your feet, lift your hips as high as you can, and then maybe the hips go up enough so that you can come up off the crown of the head. You're trying to bring your frontal hip bones, ribs together. Last 3, pressing into the feet, opening the front part of your quad. 2, look towards your chest, lower with control, and now you can open up your feet and let your knees teepee in like a little pyramid shape in your knees. So when you breathe out of these back bends or arm balances, your heart is going to be going fast. You're going to have that little feeling of like hyperventilation. Take a few moments and slow it down. Compose yourself. Adrenaline tends to block our feelings. It allows us to power through sensible, reasonable sensations in the body so that we can survive. But yoga is not a state of survival. Yoga is about living to your fullest in wellness and health, not just surviving and using baser instinct. So when you slow the breath down, you start to trigger the relaxation response, and that's what brings you back to a state of being able to feel and connect to yourself. And now you're going to bring your feet all the way in towards each other, bring your knees towards your chest, and give yourself a little hug. Okay, with your next exhalation, you're going to use a little bit of your abdominals, and you're going to bring your shoulders up off the ground, and you're going to try to bring your forehead to touch your knees. Okay, if you can, you're going to reach forward and hold your feet with your fingertips. Yeah, and you're going to try to engage your belly and round your back as much as you can using your abdominals here to counter the back bend. And then release. Hug your lower shin bones just below your knees, and then rock forward and back like a rocking horse and come all the way up and sit. Okay, so now we're going to do open twisting posture. So what you're going to do is you're going to extend your legs out in front of you. Okay, and now you're going to take your right heel back towards your right glute with your knee pointing out towards the right. Good, that's it. Okay, now if you need a cushion, you wouldn't put it under the right hip, you would put it under the left hip. And if you just put it under the left hip, what that will allow is for the right hip to eventually release down, and then the stretch will become more even in your spine. Now you're going to turn your body to face towards the right knee, okay? And so now you're opening twist here. Okay, so for a few breaths, you're going to push down into your hips, and you're going to try to lift the sides of the spine up, and then rotating on the exhale your chest towards your right knee. Okay, and now when you're ready, you're going to feel for either your left big toe, or you can just push the hand onto the ground inside of your left foot. Okay, take a big breath in. Keep the external rotation in your left shoulder, and then start to bend your elbow to the inside of the leg. So if you can push the elbow gently against the inner left leg, you're going to be able to leverage yourself into a little more of an open twist. Okay, now we're going to internally rotate the right shoulder to its fullest. Take the arm back, bend the elbow, and then see if you can find the left side waist. As much as you can, pushing into the left hip and moving the left side of the spine laterally over the left leg. There you go, and breathe here. And release your right arm first towards the back of your mat. Feel the arm engage your obliques so much that it helps you to come up. And then when you're ready, you're gonna bring your right leg around to the front and you're gonna switch, bending your left knee and taking it out, pointing towards the left. And then if your little left cheek, your little tushy isn't on the ground, slide a cushion under just the right side. So you're not sliding a cushion under the left side. We want the left butt cheek to hang down so that that side of the back can start to release and stretch without forcing. Now you're gonna bring your hands on either side of the bent knee leg. Okay. Flex your right heel so you're feeling a prominent sense of Dandasana in that leg. Okay. And from the right hip releasing down, you're gonna try to lift the right side of the spine using the postural muscles up, and then you're gonna make a mini rotation towards the bent knee leg. Keep as much of this rotation as you can, and with your right hand, you're either gonna hold the big toe or you're gonna place your hand on the inside. Okay. Now, with as much relaxed feeling in the right shoulder as you can, take a big inhale, and then you're gonna bend the elbow and see if you can bring it to the inside of the leg, rotating your chest around. Okay, now the left arm in a big internal rotation. Bring the arm back, bend the elbow, and place the hand around. Okay. Concentrate on grounding the right hip down, either into the floor or the cushion, taking the right side of their spine into lateral flexion or sideways movement. And then you're gonna turn on the central axis of your spine. And even if the left hip doesn't come down today, it's okay. We're still getting a stretch because the right hip has been elevated. So clearly the left hip will come into its full stretch whenever it's ready without force. And just breathe, last 3. There you go. 2. First, you're going to release the left arm back. You're going to use the stretch, the reach of the arm to help the left obliques engage and pull you up. And then release and straighten your legs to the front of the mat. Okay. And now we're going to do Baddha Konasana with the feet together, knees apart. Okay, and then you're gonna take your right hand back, and you might wanna use a block underneath your right fingertips, and your left hand to your right knee. So again, the feeling is going to be that there's more weight on the right hip naturally. That's normal for everyone. But can you, in your mind, feel gently the left hip starting to come down towards the ground? So that means that then the left side of the body can go up more, and then around into the rotation a little deeper. Last couple breaths here. You can move this back even more. There you go. Last 3. Ooh la la, yeah, there you go. 2. Now first, just look toward your left shoulder. Feel that stretch in the levator muscle in your upper back. And then slowly, you're gonna untwist, unwind. Bring your left hand back. Bring your right hand across towards your left knee. So obviously there's gonna be more, because you're twisting towards the left, there's gonna be more weight on your left hip now. Okay, so without forcing the right hip down, just feel your right hip reach down for the ground, but your right spine go up towards the ceiling as you inhale, and then you're gonna turn with that length as you exhale. Good. So the left shoulder blade pushes the left elbow away from the spine, the right shoulder blade pushes the right elbow, and you're opening and stretching as you're twisting. Good. Last 3 breaths here. Yeah. Look towards the right shoulder first. Take a big breath in. And as you exhale, you're going to release to center and just walk your hands over your feet, folding into flexion now. breathing. Elongate as you inhale, come up with your torso. Help your knees together, so use your hands, close the book, and then you're gonna lie down on your back. Hug your knees in, give yourself a little squeeze. Okay, now let's take the right leg vertical. You can use a yoga belt on your foot, or you can just interlace your hands around your hamstring. And then you can keep the left knee bent or straighten the left leg out on the ground. I give you that option. Push as much as you can the right leg up. So think of the muscle that attaches from the sitting bone to the inner thigh, the lesser trochanter. And as that muscle pushes and engages the leg up out of the hip, it actually creates space. So it's kind of like when you push in the clutch of a car, it creates space, and then you can shift into a gear without any interference. So we want to create space, or ollie the leg up out of the hip socket. And then once it goes up enough, it will be able to come further forward towards your forehead. Little by little, the more you have space, the more you have movement. That's just the way the body works. Last 2 breaths here. Bend your right knee, set your right foot on the ground, lift your left leg vertical, place your hands on the back of the left hammy, flex the foot upwards, maybe you straighten the right leg, or if it's too much, you keep the right foot on the ground. So you have to feel in your body. Make a connection. So from where the sitting bone is to the inner thigh, there's muscles, gemelli and obturators, and that engagement pushes the leg up out of the hip socket. So that space is what then allows the leg to come over the front of your torso more. As much as the right leg stays down, the left leg will be able to ollie up higher. Two more breaths. Okay, now we're going to take both legs up. One hand on the back of each hammy. Flex your feet. Feel your legs light in the hips so they're not compressing down into all those little fragile tissues in your hip socket. Think of opening the feet, so the energy of the feet, not just the cells of the feet, but the energy. Go a layer even more subtle than the physical. Pushing those inner legs up with such stability that the inner heels feel like they're a millimeter higher than the outer heels. Last breath here. And now bend your knees, hug deep your legs into your chest, and we're gonna set up for Shavasana. So I always like to put something under the back of my legs. You can choose whatever you like, and maybe a cushion under your head works better for you. Choose a position in your arms that's really comfortable. Okay, and then you can let go of the choreographed breathing with a little open mouth sigh. Take a deep breath in. Bring your awareness back to your body, wiggle your toes, move your fingers around. And then you can bend your knees, place your feet up onto that cushion, and stretch your arms if you want to, overhead or out to the sides. Bring your knees up to your chest, give yourself a little squeeze. And then when you're ready, you're going to roll to the fetal position to one side. Take a few moments there. Take extra time if necessary. And then you can use the top hand pressing into the floor. Use that to help you come up. And any seated position that you choose is fine. Take a moment to elevate the crown of the head. Bring your hands to Anjali Mudra. Bringing the elbows in next to the side of the body, and then bowing your forehead, gazing towards your fingertips. Connect to what you're feeling grateful for. Now bringing your head up, opening your eyes, and namaste.